harmful? Is it not buying and selling of animals created for yajna or making use of them to load goods anishta? Whether animals killed by weapons or killed by mantra in the yajna, both lead to papa. The saying that Pitamaha has created animals newly for the yajna purpose is as absurd as the creation of rabbit's horn and Akasha Pushpa. In this way, Narada made Parvataka to shut his mouth. Then, because Rama and Lakshmana are the eighth Baladeva and Keshava and Ravana the Prativasudeva, it was decided to send Rama and Lakshmana to Janaka's place in Dasharatha's court. Mahabali, named chief commander, said, the heroic nature of Rama and Lakshmana should get exhibited in front of the gathering of kings at Janaka's place. What does it matter whether Janaka's yajna lead him to punya or papa? In Karnaparya's Neminatha Purana, there is a brief reference of King Vasu, who falsely gave judgment in favor of Himsa Yajna. Karnaparya, while narrating the lineage of Harivamsha, just mentions King Vasu, who attained seventh hell, getting struck by the thunder, a divya, as a punishment for telling lie in the dispute about yajna between Narada and Parvataka. But Harivamsha Puranam of Jinasenacharya narrates the whole episode of Yajna Vivada to establish supremacy of Jaina faith over Veda Pramanya. Thinking Vasu as a black mark, Mangarasa in his Nemijinesha Sangati just refers the name of Vasu. Salva Bharata by poet Salva also refers King Vasu as, quote, in the dispute regarding yajna between Narada and Parvataka, Vasu got struck with thunder as Divya and fell into the hell. According to Jaina Ramayana tradition, Ravana is a firm devotee of Jaina faith. Pampa Ramayana or Ramachandra Charita Puranam depicts Ravana as Yajna Virodhi. While returning back from war expedition, Ravana heard that King Marut was doing yajna of animal sacrifice without showing reverence to any other deities. Ravana saw animals tied up to Upasthamba and sacrificing them in yajna. He demolished the yajna kundas, the yajna shalas, Upasthamba and the pandal constructed for the purpose. When Ravana was about to kill the Rutvijas, Marudraja fell on the feet of Ravana, sought Kshama, and got his daughter married to Ravana. Ramayana of Chandrasagara Varni also narrates the same episode, Ravana destroying the Upasthamba and yajna conducted by the king Marut of Mithyadrushti. Here Ravana frees the animals tied to Upasthamba. Devachandra's Rajavali Kathasara documents the clash between Jains and Vaishnavas and Shaivites. He documents a legend about holy place Gaya. Once King Valavibhu of bad faith conducted yajna and gave danas to Brahmins. After installing the idol of Kala Bhairava, the king named a nearby river as Mahaganga. Brahmins at that place made other Vipras all over the country to visit there and have holy bath, conduct Shraddha for ancestors. That place became famous by the name Gaya. The local Vipras looted these pilgrim Brahmins and were called by the name Gayavalas. A Purana by name Kashi Gaya Mahatme was written. Once a Brahmin of perfect Vedic knowledge conducted yajna for 21 times at this Kashi Ganga. Devachandra mentions another Brahmin poet who studied Veda, Shabda, Tarka, and wrote sutras in support of. How
many more minutes would you like? How many more minutes would you like?
Okay, I'm ending this. In support of Naramedha, Sarpamedha, and like this. There was another incident mentioned about animal sacrifice in Yajna. Once 21 goats were bought for the sacrifice by Brahmins of Saligrama in Hoysala region. They entered a Jinalaya. They came back for shelter to Jinalaya when they were driven out by a potterman. Jaina ascetic name Dharmacharya protected them. The Somayajis and Vedantis tried to take hold of those goats forcibly. The Jaina Muni peacefully tried to convince them the dismerits of violence on animals in the name of Yajna. There was a debate conducted between the people of two faiths with the approval of King Rajaditya. It was established that Jiva Himsa leads to Papa and Durgati on the basis of Jaina text, Pramana Pariksha, Pramana Nirnaya, and Syadvada Marga. Lastly, I would like to mention about the story of Bali and ascetic Vishnu Kumara. Shall I continue, sir?
Yeah.
Last.
Okay.
The story is narrated in Nagaraja's Punyasrava, Nayasena's Dharmamrita, and Chamundaraya Purana, etc. The Brahminic legend of Bali has been converted to convey Prabhavananga, the eighth qualitative point of Samyak Darshana, the right belief. To take revenge on Akampanacharya, a Jaina Muni, and his 500 disciples, Bali makes arrangements to conduct yajna of animal sacrifice. He closed the cave with firewood where Akampanacharya took shelter. Vishnu Muni, having the powers of Anima, Laghima, Garima, was assigned by his guru to stop the killing of ascetics. Disguised as Vamanavatari, he demanded land of the measure of 3 feet, and later Bali was severely punished. Like this, there are several references of anti-yajna attitudes in Kannada Jaina kavyas. Most of the references owe to the original Sanskrit and Prakrit texts. Dr. Ambedkar very elaborately analyzes the evolution of caste system in India. In his analysis, the Vedic yajnas play pivotal role. The Kshatriyas being denied the Vedadikara, Upanayana and Gayatri Mantra were termed as Shudras. Those who protested and did not wish to be a part of the Varna system were termed as Atishudra, the Panchamas. On the ground of karma theory, Jaina philosophy clearly negates the caste distinction. The Atma is the Atma in the pure form has been defined detached from Ayunama karma, Gotra karmas, and all kinds of other karmas. Having the ideal state of pure Atma, the liberated soul, Jaina philosophy speaks of the violence done by Jiva to the Atma itself by allowing the karmic particles to enter. The violence done in the name of yajna, according to Jaina thought, is the highest kind of violence done to the Atma of the doer itself. Thanking you all.
Thank you very much, Priti, for this rich overview of source material and also bringing out the significance of narrative literature for Jaina ideas.
Thank you very much. It was a wonderful, I really enjoyed listening to all of these narratives. In the very beginning, you mentioned aboriginals. the aboriginals of India. Could you just tell me what the texts are referring to actually?
About the existence of aboriginals. There's one theory about the Harappa and Mohenjo-daro seals, that some Rishabhadeva name was identified, and the idol of Rishabhadeva. It's a clear indication that they were the original inhabitants of the place where Shramanic culture was fully developed. And then the Aryans came as the invaders, and they have clear difference of opinion about the Lokadrushti. I have told in the Shramanic cult, the creator God, there is no place for the creator God. It starts from the concept of creation itself. There is a firm distinction between the two. And then it follows to the caste system also, because caste system is a part and parcel of the Sthitistapakatva, which was done by the Vishnu. And the Jaina Lokadrushti, Shramana Lokadrushti says there is no organizer, ruler for this world.
You know, I think Meera was mentioning that Professor Romila Thapar was with us last week, and one of the points of debate she spoke extensively about was this Aryan myth. You know, one of her earlier books was on the Aryan thing, and she, as an ancient historian, is absolutely convinced that the whole story of the Aryan thing is a myth, Aryan invasion. Yeah. Now, whether that is or not, maybe a different kind of a debate. But in these literature sources, in Kannada particularly, are there any references to the story of Aryan myths? I mean, because the whole construction of the Aryans may be much later. So in these texts, very early texts, maybe, the first Kannada text and so on, is there any reference to Aryans which are without interpretation? That is very specific, very clearly, unambiguously Aryan invasion.
The term Aryans is not at all used.
Can I clarify
as opponent.
Please, just 1 minute. I want to know whether you're referring to Aryan invasion theory or Aryan immigration theory.
Romila was making the point that, the Aryan invasion theory is an absurdity. Okay. So, because there is no question of invasion as such, even the question of the Aryan immigration, whether the indigenous, outside, etc., there has been so much of debate about it. And I think the point was that definitely the question of Aryan invasion doesn't hold, according to her. I mean, I don't know enough about the details of it. But the whole idea that, somehow the Indian social structure can be understood through this invocation of the Aryan was to her very problematical. So I'm very curious to see how in the literary sources, whether there were any.
Because Arya, it has been used as an honorific term also, but not as an opponent. But non-Vedic thoughts play an important role in both Jaina and Bauddha, the Lokayata.
You told that Harappa and Mohenjo-daro, they had the Jainas.
There is some argument about like that, sir. Because in the Harappa Mohenjo-daro cultures, there is no sign of usage of weapons.
That cannot be the argument for saying that they are Jainas. That cannot be the sole reason. Like Jaina, there are large number of Jaina kings who also waged wars.
No, before the advent of Aryans, a well-established culture was there with planned cities like that, and the Aryan god Indra, he has been described as Purandara, the destroyer of the Puras, destroyer of the dams. It shows there is some clash between the invaders and the local inhabitants.
What is the source?
Huh?
What is your source?
Vedas only.
Vedas we have.
Brahmins used Indra and other gods to wage war, and they hunted. Indra hunted the Shramana Munis.
And those who are not of those who are not of Vedic faith were termed as Dasyus.
Even the burning of the
Khandavavana.
Meera?
I see two broad themes in the literature that you did. One is that there are instances of the yajna being influenced by the surrounding of Buddhism and Jainism and themselves shifting, an internal reformation if you want. And there are stories like I've heard stories of how animal sacrifices are rejected, and then Shibi becomes a hero who gives. So these people are all there. In the Puranic literature itself, there are some, especially with the coming of the Vaishnava faith, there's a lot of compassion. And it's definitely an influence of Jainism and Buddhism into the reformatory movement within. So there are some stories which are like that. And the second set of stories that I see are the ones that establish Jaina and Jaina faith as preaching ahimsa to the other faith. So in your paper, have you made a distinction